Committee will come to order. I ask unanimous consent that the chair be authorized to declare recess at any time. Without objection, so ordered. Without objection, members have 5 legislative days within which to submit statements to be made a part of the record. So ordered. We have 4 items of official business to consider today. Adoption of the committee rules, approval of the committee's security procedures, approval of the committee's authorization and oversight plan, and finally, the appointment of committee staff. Before we begin consideration of the business for us today, I want to recognize myself for a few minutes to welcome everyone to the Armed Services Committee. This committee's fundamental responsibility is to provide for our nation's common defense. The work we do here is critical to the security of our country and that of its allies and partners around the world. And while we have our disagreements, we have a long tradition of carrying out our responsibilities in a bipartisan fashion, and we guard that jealously. That tradition will continue. I look forward to working closely with my good friend, the ranking member, to enact an NDA that strengthens our national defense and provides for our warfighters. That effort starts in the next few weeks with a series of hearings and briefings focused on the very complex and growing threats we face from our adversaries, especially China, the challenges facing our defense industrial base, which is enormous, and the ways we can reform acquisition and field innovation more quickly. Following these hearings, we will begin our aggressive schedule of hearings and briefings from the defense leaders in defense in the Pentagon and combatant commanders that will lead us through the NDA markup. We will also continue our oversight work on key defense programs to determine if they actually provide the capabilities that we need. If they don't, they'll be cut. At the end of the day, I expect that we will find significant savings at the Pentagon. But I want to be clear, buying the new capabilities we need, paying the long overdue bills for readiness, and providing for our service members will be very expensive. We cannot shy away from those investments. Our adversaries are fielding new capabilities at an astonishing rate. We can't sit idly by as our adversaries outpace us. We need to make significant and sustained investments in national defense, but that's not the path we're on today. Under the FRA, we are essentially cutting defense by more than 2%. This is the lowest level of defense spending as a percentage of GDP since before World War II. That is not sustainable or acceptable, and it will not deter our adversaries. You'll be hearing me talk a lot about getting defense spending back above 4% of our GDP. If we are serious about peace through strength, we need to get back to that level of investment. I look forward to working with all of you to accomplish these goals. With that, I want to quickly introduce our 7 new Republican members. First, Mr. Derek Van Orden, Wisconsin. Derek served in the U.S. Navy for 26 years, retiring as a Navy SEAL Senior Chief with multiple combat tours across Africa, Asia, Europe, and Latin America. Next, Mr. John McGuire from Virginia. John served as a United States Navy SEAL for 10 years. Following his military career, McGuire founded a small business preparing young men and women for service in our military and law enforcement, and he served in the Virginia House of Delegates. Next, we have Mr. Pat Harrigan from North Carolina. Pat is a West Point graduate and a combat-decorated Green Beret who served 2 tours in Afghanistan. Following his service, he founded a thriving defense manufacturing business in North Carolina. Next, we have Mr. Mark Mesmer from Indiana. Mark represents Indiana's 8th Congressional District, which is home to Naval Surface Warfare Center, Crane Division, the largest naval installation in the U.S., and the 3rd largest naval installation in the world. Mark is a former member of the Indiana State House and Senate, serving his last 4 years as a Senate Majority Leader. Next, we have Mr. Derek Schmidt from Kansas. Derek is a 5th-generation Kansan who served for 12 years as the Attorney General of Kansas. He represents Kansas' 2nd District, which includes Fort Riley, Fort Leavenworth, and the headquarters for both the Kansas Army and the Air National Guard. Mr. Jeff Crank from Colorado is also joining us. Jeff is filling the shoes of our former colleague, Doug Lamborn, and represents the home of the Air Force Academy, NORAD, several significant Army, Air Force, and Space Force installations. And finally, we have Mr. Abe Amadei from Arizona. Abe represents Arizona's 8th Congressional District. Since 2016, he has served in the U.S. Army Reserve as an intelligence officer, deploying to Saudi Arabia in 2020. I welcome all of you to the committee, and I look forward to working with you. And with that, I yield to my friend, the ranking member, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your opening remarks. I think they're spot-on description of what we do here in this committee and why it's so important. I want to echo your comments. This is a terrific partnership. Mike and I work incredibly closely together and have for a number of years. I look forward to continuing that partnership. And I think the two biggest things that drive this committee are, number one, absolute commitment to bipartisanship, and number two, absolute commitment to getting our bill done every year. 64 consecutive years. And it's never easy, by the way. It always seems like you get done. You got done. You always get done, sure. But it is always a very, very difficult process. But the reason it survives is because I believe of the culture that has been built on this committee, certainly by Chairman Rogers, but also I think by a long succession of chairs and ranking members, many of whom are reflected on the walls behind us here, that made sure that everybody on the committee, no matter how long you've served on the committee, no matter how new you are, understood that's what we do here. We work together, we get things done. We argue, we disagree. That's, democracy, that's the way it works. But we're very focused on getting the bill done because we understand how important our mission is, exercising oversight of the Pentagon and making sure that the men and women who serve in the military have the tools they need to perform their mission. It is incredibly important. This committee does a great job. I also want to thank, you'll see assembled behind us here, the House Armed Services Committee staff, far and away the greatest asset that we have on this committee. So for the new members, I would urge you, get to know the staff. They will save you time and time again. So great knowledge base, very dedicated public servants. I appreciate their incredible work. And I agree with the chairman on the priorities that we have. I always list them as four top priorities, two of which the chairman really emphasized. One is acquisition reform. The Pentagon has to move more quickly to buy the innovative technologies that we need for modern warfare. We're seeing that play out in real time in Ukraine, and we are still frustrated by how long it takes in many instances to purchase the new innovative equipment and ideas that we need for the Pentagon. It is a lengthy requirement, process-driven thing that we are dedicated to reforming here. Second is production capacity. We've all read about how the war in Ukraine has strained our resources. We need to rebuild the arsenal of democracy, basically. Get back to being able to build the equipment and munitions that we need in a timely manner. Number three is the personnel. We have to be able to recruit and retain the people necessary to serve that. I want to give a special shout out to the Personnel Subcommittee, but also to the task force that focused on quality of life issues last session. I think we made incredible progress in last year's bill on helping meet those recruitment requirements, but it continues to be a priority. Lastly, partnerships and alliances. Big, complicated world. We cannot do it all on our own. AUKUS is a great example. Give a special shout out to my good friend Joe Courtney here. They're going to elect you president of Australia at some point, I think. Dedicated to that. But the submarines aside, it's about the relationship and really benefiting from the skill sets that we have amongst the wide range of partners and allies that we have. Lastly, I agree with the chairman. It's going to take money, but I also agree with his first statement. Let's take a look at how we're spending the money that we have. It's always easy to say, gosh, just give us more money. $900 billion is a fair amount of money. I think it is worth it to exercise the oversight and see, are we getting the most out of that money that we are spending? So we're going to work on all of those issues. So I think it's a great committee. I think those of you who are joining us, you're joining the best committee in Congress. We're happy to have you and look forward to a productive year. And with that, I will introduce our new members. We have a couple. The first two here, I think, are I don't know if they count as new members. They're coming back, I might be the better way to put it. Jason Crow, in particular, he only left us for one term to go over to the Foreign Affairs Committee, but he's back. He represents Colorado's 6th Congressional District, which is home to Buckley Space Force Base and a robust defense and aerospace industries. And he is a combat veteran who served as a paratrooper in Iraq and as an Army Ranger in Afghanistan. Another that we are welcoming back, and that Congressman Gil Cisneros, who represents Congressional District. He is Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness and previously served on HASC in the 116th Congress. We've joked that he went off to the Pentagon, and now he is very, very happy to be back here. Left the building going, oh my God. So anyway, but we could use those insights to help us do our oversight responsibilities. In his position as Undersecretary, he worked tirelessly to ensure that we have the strongest fighting force possible, a military that represents the best of America. And now to the truly new members. First time on the committee, Congressman Eric Sorensen represents the 17th Congressional District in Illinois. He was elected in 2022, brought nearly 20 years of experience as a trusted TV meteorologist serving Western Illinois communities, and his district is home to the historic Rock Island Arsenal on the Mississippi River and the 182nd Airlift Wing at the Peoria Air National Guard Base. Next, we have Maggie Goodlander, representing New Hampshire's 2nd District. Before being elected to Congress, she served as an intelligence officer in the United States Navy Reserve for over a decade, and she began her career as an advisor to Senators John McCain and Joe Lieberman, both of whom served on the Senate Armed Services Committee. Next is Sarah Elfreth from Maryland's 3rd Congressional District. Before being elected to Congress, she represented the U.S. Naval Academy for 6 years in the Maryland General Assembly. She fought tirelessly for the well-being of our service members and veterans in the State House. This included legislation on mental health advocacy, suicide prevention, voting rights, and education. Next, we have George Whitesides, representing California's 27th District, and his district includes the United States Air Force Plant 42 in Palmdale and multiple military design and manufacturing operations. Congressman Whitesides is a former NASA Chief of Staff and served as the CEO of Virgin Galactic, a space technology company. His experience with hypersonics, space technology, aerospace manufacturing, and test and procurement reform. Next, also from California, we have Derek Tran, representing California's 45th District. As the son of Vietnamese refugees, Derek represents Little Saigon, Orange County, the largest Vietnamese diaspora in the country. And he is a military veteran who served in the U.S. Army Reserve for 8 years and who was deployed to Iraq. Next, coming to the other coast, we have Eugene Vindman from Virginia's 7th District. It's home to thousands of uniformed personnel and Department of Defense civilian workers at Quantico Marine Corps Base, Fort Walter Army Reservation, and the Naval Surface Warfare Center Dahlgren Division. He's a 25-year Army veteran, paratrooper, and JAG prosecutor. Lastly, we have Wesley Bell from the middle of the country, Missouri's 1st District. He is the son of a police officer and county jail servant and has dedicated his life to justice, fairness, and service to his community. As the former St. Louis County prosecutor, he championed reforms and common-sense solutions to build safer, stronger communities while ensuring accountability and opportunity for all. Welcome, all of you. It's great to have such a terrific group of folks on the committee. And with that, I yield back to the chairman.
I think, gentlemen, I would note, Adam made the point that our staff is outstanding. There's a lot of them. So if you look in the drawer of your desk, you'll find a sheet that has a picture of their pretty mug and their name and title underneath. So if you're ever sitting in the room wondering, what does that person do? And what is their name? You can look in that little chart, and if you don't have one, let us know. We'll get you one. But that will stay in your desk chart, and if you want one to take home or to your office, we'll get you a copy. All right, on to business. I call up resolution number 1 regarding the committee rules for the 119th Congress. The clerk shall read the resolution.
Committee resolution number 1. Resolve that the Committee on Armed Services, U.S. House of Representatives, adopt the committee rules for the 119th Congress, which are stated in a copy distributed to each member.
The proposed committee rules have been developed jointly with Ranking Member Smith, and I made available to members' offices on Monday, January 13th. I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be considered as read and that the resolution be open to amendment at any point. Without objection, so ordered. At this time, is there any discussion or are there any questions concerning the committee rules? If there's no discussion, are there any amendments to the committee rules? No amendments. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Whitman, for the purpose of offering a motion regarding committee resolution number 1, the committee rules.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt committee resolution number 1.
The question is on the motion of the gentleman from Virginia. So many as are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Quorum being present, the ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. The next order of business is the committee resolution number 2 regarding the committee's security procedures for the 119th Congress. I call up the committee resolution number 2. The clerk will read the resolution.
Committee resolution number 2, resolved that the Committee on Armed Services, U.S. House of Representatives, adopt committee security procedures for the 119th Congress, a copy of which has been distributed to each member.
Security procedures were coordinated with Mr. Smith and were made available to members' offices on Monday, January 13th. I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be considered as read and that the resolution be open to amendment at any point. Without objection, so ordered. Is there any discussion or are there any questions concerning the security procedures? There's no discussion. Are there any amendments to the security procedures?
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question.
Who's talking?
Chrissy.
Oh, Chrissy.
Hi, I'm just wondering, in the security clearance procedures, has there been any accommodation for training on the management of classified information, particularly maybe for the new members? And can there be?
Yeah, I'm informed the Office of House Security coordinates that, but we can make sure that they are put in connection with them for that purpose. That's a good idea.
Thank you, I appreciate it, sir.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, are there any amendments? The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Whitman, for the purpose of offering a motion regarding committee resolution number 2, the security procedures for the 119th Congress.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt committee resolution number 2.
Questions on the motion from the gentleman from Virginia? So many as are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Quorum being present, the ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. The next order of business is the committee resolution number 3 regarding the committee's authorization and oversight plan for the 119th Congress. I call up committee resolution number 3. Clerk will read the resolution.
Committee resolution number 3, resolved that the Committee on Armed Services, U.S. House of Representatives, adopt a committee authorization and oversight plan for the 119th Congress, a copy of which has been distributed to each member.
The authorization and oversight plan has been coordinated with Mr. Smith and made available to the members' offices on January 13th. I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be considered as read and that the resolution be open to amendment at any point. Without objection, so ordered. Is there any discussion or are there any questions concerning the authorization and oversight plan? If there's no discussion, are there any amendments to the authorization and oversight plan? Chair now recognize the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Whitman, for the purpose of offering a motion regarding committee resolution number 3, the authorization and oversight plan for the 119th Congress.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt committee resolution number 3.
Question is on the motion of the gentleman from Virginia. So many as are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Quorum being present, the ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to. Without objection, motion reconsidered is laid upon the table. On to the final order of business. I call up committee resolution number 4, appointing committee staff for the 119th Congress. The clerk will read the resolution.
Committee resolution number 4, resolved that the persons listed on the sheet distributed to the members and such other personnel as may be required by the committee within the limits and terms authorized under the rules of the House of Representatives are hereby appointed to the staff of the Committee on Armed Services, U.S. House of Representatives for the 119th Congress. It being understood that according to the provisions of law, the chairman will fix the basic salary per annum.
As many of you know, our committee is unique in that the staff is a combined staff. The committee staff here is here to provide advice and counsel to all of you, Republicans and Democrats alike. Please feel free to avail yourself of their services. They are a very talented group of professionals. A copy of the committee staff for the 119th Congress was prepared in consultation with the minority and made available to the member offices on Monday, January 13th. I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be considered as read. Without objection so ordered, is there any discussion or are there any questions concerning the committee staff? I know some of them are questionable looking, but that's not my question. All right. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Whitman, for the purposes of offering a motion regarding committee resolution number 4, appointing committee staff.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt committee resolution number 4.
The question is on the motion of the gentleman from Virginia. So many as are in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Quorum being present, the ayes have it. The motion is agreed to without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. You all have jobs now. Without objection, committee staff is authorized to make technical and conforming changes to reflect the action of the committee in adopting committee resolutions 1 through 4. Let me recognize Mr. Smith for any closing remarks that he might have.
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Nor do I. Welcome to the Armed Services Committee. We're adjourned.